Hi everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the All About Digital Marketing podcast. You're probably noticing something different. You're seeing a video, and that's because we're all about experimenting here at Social Inc. Everything we do, everything we try to do is testing what works and what doesn't, and what's the best way for us to be able to continually create content that best engages with our audience and with who we're trying to connect with. As part of that, you've probably seen and heard lots of different things that we've been trying. We've done everything from doing audio versions of blog articles that have been posted. We've repurposed the Social Inc. show, which is available on YouTube, as a podcast as well. We've continually tried to do things in a little bit of a different way. And that's because for us, everything is about experimenting. And today we're going to talk all about marketing failures. Something bad about the word failure, and there's also something bad about the word experimenting, and I don't really understand why for either of those things. Everything that we do as an agency and everything that we've done since 2008 has basically been a series of experiments to try and understand what works and what doesn't. When we're trying to create content, whether it be for ourselves or for our clients, what we want to try and do is understand what it takes to make something engaging, what it takes to make something that provides value. And as we go along through that process, it's become huge amounts of iterations and trying different things. Some of the experiments that we've talked about, we talk about a lot, are from last year as an agency, whereby we wanted to try and figure out whether or not we could start a podcast in 30 days. Here we are, some 16 months later nearly now. And again, all of that was started with the idea of let's try and experiment. What would it take to start a podcast? What would it take to create that content? What would it take to distribute that content? What would it take to get that content online and to understand what that process looks like? Last year, we also did 100 blogs in a month. Now, if you ask any of my team members, they will definitely tell you not to try that. We're a small team. There's only 4 of us in the agency, but we literally had to create on average about 25 blogs each within the space of about 30 days. And all of those blog articles were in fact keyword researched and optimized for SEO. Huge learning curve on that one, and something that we figured out that we wouldn't do again or we wouldn't repeat anytime soon. But again, it was an experiment to see just how much impact creating a huge amount of content could have in terms of the statistics and also in terms of SEO in the long term. Every single experiment also comes with the idea of success or failure. And for us, the word failure isn't something that we frown upon. It's not something that we look at as being all-encompassing or the end of the world kind of scenario. In fact, we see it very much as the opposite. We see these things as being a great way to really help you to understand what could be done better, what could be iterated on, what could evolve into something new, and to try and understand that as part of a bigger picture. No matter whether you're just starting out and creating content or whether or not you've been doing this for a while, the truth is every time you post something or every time you try and post something new, you're going to be seeing how people react to it. And a lot of people get disheartened. You start by posting something up, you might just be starting out, you might have a very small audience, and therefore you're not necessarily going to get a huge amount of engagement, likes, shares, comments, or anything like that at the beginning. But as you start to build that up, you're going to notice that certain types of posts, for example, get more traction. Certain types of posts might get a huge amount more reach. There's lots of things that play a part in this, and nothing should be taken as a failure, doomed, that's it, we should never try again, until you've actually had the time to test those hypotheses. Now, again, when we're talking about social media content, it's free to post. This is something that's huge. We all have to remember that if we go back sort of 15 years, it wasn't free to host content. If you wanted to do a live broadcast, it was a massive logistical challenge, and it required technology and equipment and an investment. Today, everybody has this in their pocket. Right now, I'm recording this to my iPhone. I also have a setup with a microphone and my laptop recording the sound, but that's mainly for the podcast. But just with your iPhone, this is what you can do. If you're using that and if you're taking advantage of that, this allows you to quickly create new types of content, to get it out there and to gauge the feedback that you're getting from your audience. What do I mean by that? And what sort of things can you try? Well, you can try all sorts, but thinking about your audience first, what would help to bring them value? What would help to give them some real insight into what you guys do, how you can help them, or even what could bring them value just in terms of for them? We create a ton of content every week and every month, and we keep posting it out there, and its main goal is to help small business owners. We created the podcast with the very same intention. What we're trying to do is give as much value as possible to our listeners, to our audience, so as they can find what really matters to them, what can help them, ways to do things differently. And what you can do within your own industry is exactly the same thing. What are the main pain points that lots of people suffer from? What are the main things that you could help them to achieve or to do differently or to do better? How can you make sure that people have a connection with you that's not necessarily a sales transaction, but a connection that builds a relationship and that builds that trust in who you are and what you offer? When we post stuff online, and we do this a lot, we change things, we do things differently, we create new programs, we create new plans, new landing pages, etc. We often come across things that don't work, and that's absolutely fine. One of our recent ones is something that we have spoken about on this program before, and also on our own websites and content creation that we're doing at the moment, including the Social Ink Show. We talk about the consistent experimenter. Now, for me, this idea was really good. I thought this was going to be a fantastic way for people to be able to get involved and to be able to help themselves to do more. The premise was simple. For us, there's two key aspects of creating great content and continuing and consistently creating that content. The two things are ideation, coming up with the initial ideas to be able to create or what you're going to create, and then consistency in terms of the actual execution, creating content, putting it out there and seeing what the world says or seeing how your audience reacts to it. Now, those two key concepts are pretty much all it takes to become a content creator. If you can consistently come up with ideas, consistently create and build that content out based on those ideas, that means you can continuously push stuff out into the world, figure out what works and what doesn't for your audience. And that is going to include a lot of failures. What happened to us and what the impact and the results of what we tried to launch was, people said to us, I love the idea of ideation, help with ideation. I love the idea of help with consistency, how to get that out there. But the real feedback we got was, I don't like the word experimenter. What people were saying to us was, actually, I don't want to pay to be a part of a coaching program that's about experimentation. I want the real way to do it and to do it right and to make sure that that works. And I thought that was a really interesting concept. People are willing or want to pay someone to tell them how to do it, but they don't necessarily like the reality of it's not that easy. Somebody you can pay that will tell you, this is how we did it, this is how I did it, this is how I was successful, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to give you the answer as to how you can be successful. Let's bear in mind, even just this year, everything has changed. 2020 brought along COVID, which has changed everything. The economy is up and down. Nobody really knows what's going on. So are you sure that somebody telling you, I can show you how I made money by doing X, Y, and Z last year is really relevant today? I'm happy to talk about my marketing failures because honestly, I don't know a single marketer that doesn't have failures. Every single person has been there, has tried to do it. And again, the most successful marketers and CMOs I know have had tons of failures. We just don't see them as failures and end of the world scenarios. We see them as a great way to learn how to do it differently, or a great way to understand that this doesn't resonate or that doesn't resonate as well as we thought it would. So again, guys, first and foremost, get rid of any preconceptions of failure being a really bad word. And number two, don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to try new things, to try different things. What's the worst that can happen? If it really doesn't do well, or if you feel like you're really getting negative value for it, then you can simply delete that piece of content. But being brave enough to get out there, turn on the camera, record something, and literally get it out there to your audience to find out what they think, that's hugely powerful. And that's when you're going to learn, or how you're going to learn, what works and what doesn't for your audience. Guys, hope you enjoyed the episode. Please do subscribe, leave a comment. You can find us on social channels everywhere as @allaboutdigmar. And we're really hoping that you guys will give us some feedback as to whether or not you like these video episodes as well as the show in general. Thank you very much.